Sex and the Second City on BBC WM.
We play this theme tune every Tuesday. And how appropriate is it this Tuesday with the launch of the latest movie? Girls everywhere getting dressed up. Now, they say there are only 3 degrees of separation between people in this world. That means I should be pretty close to finding a connection with Sex and the City's Sarah Jessica Parker. If only I look hard enough. I think I'm going to have to look very hard indeed. Good morning. Vicki Brant is with us in the studio. She's the assistant stylist on the new chick flick of the moment, Sex and the City 2. Good morning.
Hi.
So, the film is finally out, Vicky.
It is.
Spoke to you last time. You just come back from filming.
Yeah, in Marrakesh.
In Marrakesh. Yeah. And I thought, we've got to get you back in. Now it's all out. Let's talk about the style. Let's talk about the fashion. Even at the showing I went to on Friday night up at the AMG at the Broadway, near the Broadway Casino up there in Ladywood in Birmingham, before we even get to the fashion of the film, the ladies really went to town getting dressed up.
Absolutely. That's part of the night out, I think. You really rock up in something that's really hot, that's the latest looks, because you want to reference the characters in the film. And I think that's why it's so popular, because we can all relate to these girls, or we'd love to be able to relate to them. So we get out our wardrobe and we choose our outfits, our handbags, our shoes, and we go for it.
And when you get there, you drink the cocktails.
Yeah,
and Philip's was saying earlier, you can buy the popcorn.
Yeah.
What popcorn's got to do with,
well,
I suppose it's just got the girls on the bag or something.
It has, yeah. Anything that's got a Sex and the City logo or anything that's worth keeping, people are going to bag and keep. Anything you see on eBay, everything's just going to go through the roof price-wise.
I left my event on Friday before the goodie bags were given out, so I don't know whether I missed the diamonds and the pearls and the Sex and the City too. I know, but you see where I went wrong. I've said it all morning. I took the husband.
Oh.
And he still hasn't forgiven
no.
me. And, he thought it was a good idea at the time. I didn't force him, everybody who's listening. And please, if you're about to see him in his clinic this morning, don't go in and say, how was the movie? Because he was very embarrassed. 2 gay men, 3 straight men, and hundreds of women in the cinema. Who's the good-looking ex-boyfriend of Carrie?
Aidan.
Oh, here right on the screen. And they all screamed and clapped. And my husband's going, who the hell's he? I said, it doesn't matter, he's gorgeous. Anyway, but you went to see it in Telford. Did everybody make an effort there? Were the ladies dressing up?
Well, no. Frankly, in a word, no. But I did go down and see it in London as well, and that was a different story. But
you were at the premiere?
Yeah, but very low-key in the background, not really involved, just sort of happened to be able to get a seat so I could see it.
But I bet there were some great frocks.
There were some fabulous frocks. But my night out in Telford with my girlfriend, we went dancing, we went for cocktails, was much more me because it was real. Whereas when I was down in London, it was just kind of, I happened to be there, I was just lucky. But I didn't get involved in the star-studded or the paps or the red carpet. No.
Well, we're lucky that you're with us today because she worked on the movie. Vicki Brant lives in Worcester, but she's the assistant stylist on the new movie. She helped with the costumes and they are outrageous. We're going to be talking about them. Right now we're talking about the new chick flick. There's been a hell of a lot of hype around this movie. It's called Sex and the City 2, and Vicki Brant from Worcester's in the studio with me. She's the assistant stylist on the movie. Just in case anybody doesn't know the plot, and I know there'll be men listening this morning don't know what the heck I'm on about. It's about these women, isn't it? Carrie, Charlotte, Miranda and Samantha, and they've been together now,
since 1998 the first series came out.
That's 12 years.
Yeah.
12 years, and it's sort of Carrie, played by Sarah Jessica Parker. She's a diarist, isn't she? And she sort of is from the outside looking in, sort of narrating it all the way through. It was a TV show, then it became a movie.
Yeah.
Well, we were never sure we were going to get a movie. Now there's this number 2 movie.
I think there'll be probably a number 3.
Do you?
2, yeah.
See, I think they're scraping the barrel a little bit now.
I don't think so. I think the writer, director and producer Michael Patrick King has a lot of ideas left, loads of ideas. And I think as long as the girls are happy to do it, there will be a 3rd movie.
I just thought when I left the cinema on Friday, if Sarah Jessica Parker was to have a baby in it with Mr. Big,
Well, and Samantha could have a facelift, and it could go on and on and on. It's endless.
But right now we've got you in to talk about the style, because that's what you did on the movie. So the different themes, the different feels. in
Right.
this movie?
I think, firstly, because the girls go to Abu Dhabi, Patricia Field was able to extend her very theatrical, slightly eccentric take on the way they dress. And so we see a lot of headwear, a lot of turbans, a lot of unusual hats, cowboy hats, lovely funky things in the hair, flowers, lots of beading, lots of Eastern-inspired dresses, flowing pieces, harem pants, those kind of things that work perfectly well in scenes in the souk and scenes in the desert. So I think that's one very key theme. The other very important theme is we see just Sarah Jessica Parker wearing Halston Heritage, which is a label that's a diffusion line of Halston, and she has since taken on the role of creative director for that brand.
Oh, I've never heard of Halston. So
have you not? It's
no.
1970s inspired. Halston used to dress people like Bianca Jagger in Studio 54 days. So it's a New York label that was resurrected by Tamara Mellon, who owns Jimmy Choo. And Halston Heritage is kind of an offshoot of that. What's good about this label is it's affordable. You can buy it at Harvey Nichols, you can buy it at netaporter.com, and it's around £200 for a very, very good dress.
So if people have seen the movie or going to the movie today, what are the pieces then? Do you know
There's
which they
a
are?
blue, electric blue tiered dress that she wears when she's in New York with a silver thread running through it. That's Halston. The opening credits, she opens the doors of her apartment in a white V-neck Halston Heritage. That's another one. And as she arrives at the airport in Abu Dhabi, she wears a peach asymmetric caftan-style Halston Heritage with a turban. Those are the three key dresses you see
I
her
remember
in.
the turban number.
Yeah.
Now, what's amazing about Sarah Jessica Parker, though, even in when she's filming in the apartment with the husband in New York, I just look at her and think, are we ever going to see her in a T-shirt and sweatpants like the rest of us, or a dressing gown?
Yeah.
You know,
She's lying there watching a movie in a Givenchy couture gown. I agree with you.
And
yeah,
heels,
yeah.
you know, whatever she's doing.
But my favourite quote from the film is when he says, "Oh, come on, let's cook or let's get a takeout." And she said, "But when you married me, you knew I was more Coco Chanel than Coq au vin." And I think that's a great quote because that's me. I mean, I don't like to cook, I like to dress.
She even dresses up in bed.
I know.
I mean, she, and I don't know whether this is just her as an actor, but she wore a bra in bed all the time, a bra and then a little silk number over the top.
Yes, it just sort of adds to her sexy appeal, doesn't it, really, I think. But if you interview her or speak to her in reality, she doesn't really live that life, but obviously the role of Carrie requires her to be a little bit more than the average woman, so yeah.
Some of my favourite costumes in the film are from the 80s, which was when the film kicks off by looking back. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. I do have with me in the studio Vicki Brant, who is an assistant stylist on the movie. So what was your job on the movie, Vicki?
Well, really, I was only really there for the Marrakesh scenes, so it was quite short-lived for me. And it was more to do with the extras, styling the extras, and just helping pick out certain accessories for the girls and things like that. But there's a few key things that I think your listeners might want to know about. Sarah Jessica Parker wears a new pendant, and she always used to wear a Carrie pendant that said her name. This movie, she wears a Diamante cloverleaf pendant, which in fact is vintage. But what we've done, Patricia Field's very clever. She's actually put a copy of this pendant onto her website, www.patriciafield.com, and you can go and buy a pendant that looks identical to Carrie's for £38. So if you're a fan of what she wears, you can go and buy that online now.
And gentlemen, if you're listening this morning and your wife likes the movie, get on Patricia Field's site and get her that, what is it, £38?
£38, it's not too much.
I remember, it's a lovely cloverleaf necklace.
Yeah.
In several scenes she wore that, actually.
She wears it a lot.
Yeah.
It's the key piece, jewellery-wise, for her. It's her signature piece.
You must tell us about the shoes before we finish. Come on, because she's famous for wearing...
She is.
What are the shoes?
Well, Manolo Blahnik and Christian Louboutin.
Manolo.
And her Louboutins that are the favourite pair for this movie are a gold pair called the Pigalle, and she wears those in the opening scene with the white Halston dress. And kind of their enormous amount of money, which I can't say in a recession times.
No, it's
but
just outrageous.
They are available still.
We'd have to remortgage, and we're not going to do it.
I think so. And the other shoe designer that's nice to see in the film is the British shoe designer Brian Atwood, and some of his shoes are being seen in the film for the first time. So he's not a new label, but he's still an up-and-coming shoe designer, Brian Atwood, so he's worth looking
And do you
at.
think women around the world are interested in buying pieces dressing like the girls dress?
I do think so, yes. And I think if you can afford a couple of the pieces that they wore from the film or similar, they're kind of vintage heirlooms of the future because they'll have history. They'll be attached to the film. They'll always sell on eBay. They'll always hold their value. So it's like buying something that's never going to lose, really. And you'll have the pleasure of wearing it. So.
There's a couple of nice lines in the movie where Samantha, who's now in her 50s and suffering, do you suffer the menopause? Going through the menopause, I should say. And she goes to try and get an outfit for the premiere that she's been invited to, you know, and the shop assistant said, aren't you a little bit old for wearing that?
Too young? Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
I know where she's coming from. I think we all think we can carry on wearing miniskirts when we're 50, and I'm not far off 50, and I'm wearing a miniskirt today. So, if you feel you have the legs, wear it.
If you've got the legs, that's it. You're never too old for a miniskirt. And
No.
I just want to finish up by talking about the 80s stuff. The movie starts with flashbacks to the girls.
Yes, it
when
does.
they first arrived in New York. Very much sort of Madonna material girl sort of...
Sarah Jessica Parker was working the Madonna look with a little tutu and the suspender belt over the top.
And the curly perm.
Yeah, and the white stilettos. You had Charlotte doing the preppy New York look with a little V-neck jumper and the little sneakers. And you have Miranda looking like a young corporate lawyer.
Oh, the lawyer, yes.
With a dodgy haircut, very dodgy haircut. And then, of course, Samantha looking like sex on legs in spray-on, stonewash, whitewash denim jeans and a very big hairdo. Big hair. It's great to go back and reference that, I think. And that's something Patricia Field does brilliantly. She can take us back any era, and we know where we are straight away, just from the clothes.
And you know, although none of us can afford any of the clothes or the look, we kind of all know people like them, I think, and that's why we like watching the movies. But it is a real girl thing. So, Vicki Brant, thank you very much.
You're welcome
for coming in and talking us through the fabulous fashion in Sex and the Second City on this show for the Sex and the City 2 movie.